All kinds of things can take place when we are on the road. At times we see a child is born. At times a man is killed. But one thing that often happens is that we meet people. People that we had never seen before, or friends we had not met for a long time. I will tell you what happened to us when we were on the road. It was evening time, and I was walking with my friend here, Cleophas. We were on our way to Emmaus, a village about 7 miles from Jerusalem. Of course, our minds were filled with what had happened in Jerusalem a few days ago, and we were talking about that. We felt somebody was walking behind us. Soon the man reached us. Though he was a stranger, he joined in our conversation. In fact, he started asking us a question. He said,
"What matters are you discussing as you walk along?"
We must have looked sad, and we were really sad. And the question of that stranger was somehow strange. My friend Cleophas said,
"You must be the only person in Jerusalem who does not know the thing which had been happening these last days." "What things?"
I replied, "All about Jesus of Nazareth, who proved that he was a great prophet by the things he did and said in the sight of God and the whole nation." I went on telling the stranger how the chief priests and the leaders treated the man of Nazareth called Jesus, how they handed him over to the Roman authorities, who condemned him and crucified him. And I said in a low voice that our own hope had been that he would be the one to set Israel free. My voice must have shown that now we had lost all our hope. And Cleophas went on telling the stranger how some women of our group had gone to the tomb and found the tomb empty. There was no sign of his body. I added that the women even spoke of having seen angels who told them that Jesus was alive. But you know how women can make up stories. I told him that some of our friends had gone to see for themselves, and I must say that they found everything as the women said, but they did not see Jesus at all. I hardly finished speaking when the stranger started speaking. He looked at both of us and said,
"You foolish man, you are so slow to believe the full message of the prophets?"
Cleophas and I looked at each other. These were strange words indeed. But the man went on.
"Was it not ordained that the Christ should suffer and so enter into his glory?"
And starting with Moses, going through all the prophets, he started explaining about the scriptures. He started explaining to us all those passages that were about the Christ. You know how you feel when you hear someone speak the words that touch you, the words that reach deep down within you. You feel like your heart is melting. This is how we felt that day. By then we had reached the place we were going to, and the man did as if he would go on. I wanted him to speak to us still, so I pressed him to stay with us. I said, "It is nearly evening and the day is almost over." Cleophas joined me in saying the same thing, and the man came in with us. We were sitting at the table for the meal when the stranger took the bread, said the usual blessing, and he broke it to share it with us, and he gave it to us. Then, yes, it was then our eyes were opened and we recognized him. He had been with us all that time on the road, but something prevented us from recognizing him. It was as if we were blind to see who he was. Now we knew for certain that it was him. But suddenly he has disappeared. Cleophas and I started telling each other how we had felt our hearts so warm as he was explaining the scriptures to us. It was a very unusual experience. Walking with someone you think is a stranger, answering his questions, explaining things to him that he knows better than yourself, and above all, not knowing that he is the very one you are talking about. Since that day, whenever I walk on the road by myself, I often recall our walk that evening. At times, I even glance at my side to make sure whether my eyes wouldn't catch a glimpse of him. But I don't need that really. I know that he always walks with me. I know that he knows every thought in my mind. He hears every word I speak. He understands how I feel. And whenever I am sad, as I was that day, he is always there to give me back hope. If you yourself allow him to walk with you, if you recognize his presence, I am sure that he will do the same for you.
It's a long night, it's a long day. Come share my table and stay and break bread. The day is spent and the road ahead is a long way. Two men went walking and talking about him who was risen from the dead. They were joined by a stranger and they heard the things that he said. It's a long night, it's a long day. Come share my table and stay and break bread. The day is spent and the road ahead, it's a long way. They were joined by a stranger who told them about him who was risen from the dead. Their hearts burned within them when they heard the things that he said. It's a long night, it's a long day. Come share my table and stay and break bread. The day is spent and the road ahead, it's a long way. Two men were walking and talking about him who was risen from the dead. And suddenly their eyes were opened at the breaking of the bread. It's a long night, it's a long day. Come share my table and stay and break bread. The day is spent and the road ahead is a long way. It's a long way. It's a long